What's up, guys? We're gonna see if we're live. The other night, um, I was talking for like 10 minutes or so and didn't have any audio, but yeah, looks like we got video. Audio, but boom, we're good. Yeah, looks like we got video, audio, but boom, we're good. All right, so hopefully you guys are having an outstanding week. I mean, we're rocking and rolling for sure, trying to fight to we're not trying, we are, getting to being able to spring into spring, right? And summer can't get here fast enough. So hopefully you guys will appreciate tonight's stuff because when I had Stephen Myers on the mastermind on the ISA one a couple weeks ago on Monday, we was like right at about an hour and a half, and we dropped it, but I still had a lot to go over, and I told you guys I was going to give you a screenshot of the Tom Ferry third party vendors, and a bunch of other ones that I'd gotten, and Op City, the number 2 guy, Casey, if you guys are involved with that, just send me a couple of new ones today. I'd have to look them up and see what he said they were. Let me see here. But we're gonna get it. We're gonna get into those. So I want to be able to give them to you, and then just like tied a bunch of different apps and stuff into my Zoom, and just trying to I guess we're gonna say turn this Zoom into a little race car, right? We can start modifying them. Like Quell is one of them, except it's 35% referral fee. And then they start their own lead stuff from 50 to 70 referrals to 25% success fee, and then Mutual Omaha. So it looks like he gave me a couple of other ones that I didn't know about. So I want to be able to hit those as well. When we looked at this with Stephen, we really was breaking down the different ISA models and the evolution of the different structure that you grow through and have to make changes to fit the model that you see best for your client and also the agent. We went through data management, a little bit of that. It might be good to even have Steve or some of these other guys step up with Gurney. I seen Gurney was on yesterday, or I think it was today with Mike back there killing it. And so I love it. I think right now the conversion piece to this and readjusting everything from your efforts, the way you think business comes frequently and easy, right? It still does, except the behaviors have to change, some of the marketing and just being able to max out with some of this stuff. And we went through with it, pros and cons of kind of each model that we ran into, and how we ended to where we were at. We went through the value exchange, right? Of like, you're going to pay just cents on the, a couple cents, you can go get data, right? Just names, numbers, whatever. And then, marketing reran to it, scrubbed, qualified through, that sense to be able to get a Google, Yahoo, Bing, like lead, our traditional internet leads we've been getting forever, right? And then, somewhere in between here and there, which is a big gap, is ISA conversation. And it's like, it's not all created equally, right? It's like we've seen a lot of people spend a lot of money, and it's like the money is one thing, but the know-how, not just with one party, but multiple different parties, and the management oversight, data management, and like the marketing piece is huge to be able to keep feeding the machine, and just being able to understand the communication with the database and how that's going to look in the future. We kind of touched on like all of that stuff because it is changing with our contact rates just going down, to get into disc profiling a little bit, the call center, the volume of it, then being able to work back with your agents, to be able to, service the leads and work more in that, outside sales role, even though, I'm a firm believer in still building a prospecting organization, not necessarily just a small prospecting nucleus, like the little engine that could. And I'm not going to get into that, but there's, many reasons, and many reasons to do it the other way too. And it's like, I like it the other way, because then you can, you just control your business, your investment through and through, and all of that stuff. And it allows you to keep more of the money, right? It's like whoever controls the conversion controls the business, right? With that. And I talked about like live and direct, and that is coming back. And so hopefully we'll have an announcement here soon with that stuff, kind of the structure of, what the experiential learning look like with our ISAs and agents, and, how to, it's like kind of like starting a fire, right? It's hard as hell to start a fire if you didn't have a match, a lighter, whatever, unless you're like Mr. or Mrs. Boy Scout. And so, but once you get that fire lit, it's easier to keep that fire going, right? And get it bigger. And it's the same way with ISAs and or agents. And, we get into that. And so the marketing piece like, this is an example of the worry-free listing program that you hear us talk about all the time, value stacked. I love the boxes of what Mike has them doing with this. And then like this guy right here definitely has it on display, right? I like how it looks. The one that we have with the Boulevard Group for our one in Wichita, and that one will look the same for Toronto Brick House Group, and then helping you guys out and stuff like that. It's like you kind of understand the format of it, and getting into the niches. It's like we covered a lot of different stuff in the buyer consultation and stuff like that. When I kicked off the very first Monday mastermind, and then Matt went, and we kind of like got that whole thing off and running. And this was the second time I was on, but I was co-hosting with Steven. And it's like I can remember when, because the story is, went from 30 deals to over 300, well over 300 in a short couple of years. And your value propositions, have to grow, but it's like you can't be like, you can do everything, right? You can, it's like, but you can be a jack of all trades, or are you going to become a master, a trusted advisor, an expert, like at that one thing, right? And so this is where, when you start adding the ISA in, it kind of gets dicey, because you got to feed it data. This person needs to learn, and then have a learning curve that can master the psychology of that lead and the processing, and their inner self as well. And then just all of the new, we'll just say, opportunities that come between them and the agents, especially if money's involved, and a lot of different things, handoff with clients, and notes in the system, and then who works for who, and like all the different stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like, there's just a lot to it. And so, being able to work in like one lead source, even for yourself, right? Like, what are you good at right now? And double down on it and just go deep. It could be expireds. That's coming back in a major way. And then rethinking expireds. I think, I think it's in this one or another one, because I'm actually, speaking in Cabo. I mean, I guess I'll break the news if you make it 15 minutes into this bonus. But I'll be speaking there. So I'm working on a couple other presentations and helping someone else with his, but it's like being able to dominate a niche, a program, a featured benefit, like you become like the listing boss, from like Haas Pratt, when I think worry-free listing stuff, and I know an old guy started it way back in the days, like Mike remembers him when he was young and he didn't have it, whatever, like, it's like I think Mike said he built it or something. He could have ended up getting it copyrighted, or, but whatever. But just, when I think of that, and even across the nation, when other people use it, but visually it could be looking differently, but the package is what matters. Everything of what you offer, tangible or perceived, is, it could look different and it will grow is what I'm talking about. But there's just so much from cold calling, door knocking, social media. What do we do, especially with all of these third party companies and live transfers and, all of this stuff, living senior opportunities. And that's, I put that one up there from my guy here in Wichita, older broker, Steve, shout out. And, he started telling me he was in some postcards and stuff, I don't know, like a year and a half ago. And I was like, man, I think postcards without a doubt are coming back. A lot of offline strategies are, especially with authenticity of a little bit of effort put into it and creativity, and being able to drive down that cost with the response. And he was taking a shotgun approach, just like with the senior living, community, or, the key metrics of, sending this out and positioning himself as the senior listing agent or expert. And he's, toyed around with a couple of keywords, and we've looked at stuff, and he's getting good responses off of it from, no disrespect, Steve, I love you, but it's like he's been dialing it in and keeps getting it better. But I just think if it was, like really, really dialed in a predictable manner. And so, that's a big opportunity right now, with the seniors and, all of that stuff. Even when I retook, my test, I mean, that was a big piece on there, how to handle them, communicate with them, how to not disrespect them, and, and a lot of different things. So, but it's all over the place. Mike was killing it on radio, right? And and I came in, was killing it with internet leads, right? When he had sign calls to service his listings with his big listing business. And so there's just a lot, right? And so it's just like pick one and then just go deep. And then once you have that in a predictable manner, per se, with you or your ISA in a predictable manner, is enough of a sample size where you're able to scale that valid conversation to appointment rate, like off of a respectful person's skill set, where it's like, yes. And then it's like checking with other like top people across the country that are like we'll just say the listing boss, or, the buyer, like advantage person, or like, you name it, senior person, with whatever system you're running, and just make sure it kind of checks out, right? Or damn sure make sure it's profitable, and you're getting an ROI off everything. But like without a doubt, like getting that going and the psychology of it is what I'm kind of getting at with, even when I work with these teams, and they just think they can take, we'll just say, somebody outside of the industry, and also typically somebody that's younger, and also younger, not just age, but and life experience, but younger with sales experience, across the board, whether it's inbound, outbound sales experience in general. And so then the psychology, to understand like what even a FSBO is, and expired and cancellation, withdrawn, and all that stuff, that, that's more of a one call close. I'll call it that, but it's at the bottom end of like the shorter sales cycle, right? Versus if you're calling internet leads that just registered on the website, or if you think that you're calling seller internet leads and you're going to treat them like a FSBO or expired or something like that, because they have a longer cash conversion cycle than the actual buyers do. And then the issue with actually identifying them as the seller and knowing how to have like that 2-year conversation, 1.5-year conversation, and then the communication that needs to happen with them throughout like that process, and the different words and offerings and whatever that was on the squeeze pages or the market reports or the app or whatever. So they could have all these leads even coming in from third-party service providers. You're pushing leads on them. They're following up with leads. And that's what I'm saying with the ISA piece to this. They're just inundated, even maybe with data. We're doing like the job, because feeding that machine is one thing, but being able to get a person trained properly on the psychological just understanding of what that lead responded to, where they're at, what is going on in their life, like, and then being able to shift back and forth. I mean, it takes a pro, like, someone like, you guys have been at this a while. Myself, I can get on here and compartmentalize it, shift in and out, but I just understand, and I'm beginning with the end in mind, with the psychology of that lead source. And so get the FISBOs, get the circle prospecting, get, whatever the key relationships with maybe your corporate builders, banks, events, right? Any of your other advertising, whether it's offline or online. And I think it was at an event, I think here in Wichita, I said less is more. And that's what I've been telling, like some of my people, like just take a step back to take a couple steps forward. And it's like, you can do all these things, but then it's like, which ones are you going to do? And this is what I was actually talking about on the last mastermind that I wanted to give you guys, because I just actually got a screenshot of this right here. So I'm going to grab a drink real quick, because I've been just on a shot here with the bonus. I don't even know who's tapped in and listening, but this is a part 2 to the Monday Mastermind, where we went for an hour and a half with Stephen Myers on there. Killed it, and now promised to come back with you guys. And then we had, I think, who else come on since then? I was out of town, or we had Lauren up in Toronto, the Canadian, from a Canadian investor's angle and legal angle. Then we have Paul Gurney this week, did a killer job. We actually have some other people coming up I'm pretty excited about. Tony Resnick will be announced tomorrow. Nathan King the following week, and they're going to bring it. And some of you guys never even seen these guys before, but they are ballers. Tony's been with me a long time, and actual partner, and basically the managing partner on site here in Wichita. But Ann was in that select run with us as well for a long time. So I'm looking forward to his stuff. I didn't even know it till I was like approving the imagery or looking at it tonight. But hopefully you guys were able to get a screenshot of this. And so that's what I was talking about. Yeah, I know a handful of these, but there was just some new ones that I'd gotten a couple of days before Stephen and I did this. And so hopefully you guys got that screenshot. Here's the one we got in the drive folder. I believe these ones right here, a couple of them was already on here. And this, this goes back to, a lot of you guys will be like, Op City leads are horrible or whatever. It's like, you got to be part of Rise, especially if you got the team and they're coaching the agents. It ain't just like a one-time deal, because the algorithm is a living, breathing algorithm. And, they're on there with their, tech people, top agents, other people sharing, account people back with, really it's called, Op City, but it's realtor.com. They bought them out, whatever, a couple of years ago. But I mean, even when their execs are on there, I'm talking about like the engineer tech people that's trying to help our agents stay, in this wave of good standings with the algorithm. And it's like, they tell us they built it to be self-learning. So they're suggesting how this thing should be, thinking. And so it kind of will move. Like 1 month it'll be good, or good for maybe 4 months, 5 months. And it's like, you have to show up to the training and keep figuring it out. That's why I tell my agents, just stay synced in. And I mean, so the people that are locked in with it do well, and then being able to get in with Ojo, they're getting better. And, all of that stuff. But the lead coordination part of this is what I was talking about on the call, is it basically what a master tracker is doing. And then agents can barely keep up with one platform and notes in there, let alone now you're talking 7, 8, if you got to manage it, inside of their database. So, I loved, and this was part of the ISA stuff right here, because I loved what Chris Gurney said when I was having, I don't know, it was a conversation with him about this time at night before, I got him to, I think he did maybe the 3rd or 4th Monday Mastermind, because it was just new, and then getting the other icons or people to be like, oh, I can do this because it's all production, and I'm an icon agent. This is what I do every day. So the thing that blew me away, that shocked a lot of other people, was his loan officers pay him for the co-marketing piece, but then they're also prospecting and helping set appointments for the agents, and also have quotas and held accountable, to not just the dollar bill and or the quality of the servicing of the brand promise, to whatever it may be. Let them know their credit score for free in a matter of minutes, or 6 hours or a day, any of that stuff that we position in terms of client care value, but actually the effort and the key metric, right? The valid conversations to appointments. And so being able to go back and listen to Chris Gurney, if you didn't get to hear that one that I did with me, and then being able to start, get co-marketing agreements done if you don't have them in place right now, and you are marketing and spending a lot of money. I've been through a lot of compliance departments. I think in 2000, I don't know, 13 or 14, Mike started working with RESPA lawyers and drafting contracts and all that stuff for all of the money that we were spending, and get partners involved on the lending side, where it's like, we know what their offer is, we know what their consistent quality is going to be, not just by a couple of agents using whoever they want, or we kind of got this person over here or over there, and it's like, and so at first, we only have one, then we got a choice two, and and the turnover, was never really that high. Everybody wants synced into that machine, right? It's call centers just spitting out pre-qualified appointments on our agents' calendars. Like, it's crazy. Like, and that's what I was saying about the exchange of value of leads when we're talking about live transfers, or what people could be saying is an appointment versus what we really said were appointments. And the difference in that, but being able to control and drive down that cost is being able to get a co-marketing agreement done. And I have that agreement, and it's like, we rewrote that, Trent did, before he passed away, and it was to be able to help our other partners that were coming on with us go get those agreements done until you could end up owning your own lending company. Like, a lot of my other partners, like, I was getting into, and then I blew up and kept getting, like, growing faster than expected, and I had to shelf it with a few people, and now it's like they're off and running with it. And then like anyone else, it's like we've lost some money and learned some lessons, but definitely getting it figured out. Or if you're not going to get it figured out, I definitely get with me, and I'll get you the contract. And then I can go through why it's got to be structured the way it needs to be structured in terms of RESPA. Don't leave your leads alone. Start marketing to them. So we're kind of touching on the lead sources and the different things from the ISA stuff. If you missed part one, this was part two, and I promised the leads and all that stuff. Right now, this is the slide I was talking about for the excitement of the expireds coming back. Yes, that pillar is going to come back. Yes, that is going to be a viable pipeline of business, because it's been pretty scarce right now, and depending on country, competition, all of that stuff, right? Lost opportunity costs with it. It's like, is it worth it? And when we were in the market that we were in, because we built our stuff in a down market and came out of it with the correction, is Haas Pratt was, I don't know, I was somewhere with him, and he told me, hey, come meet me for dinner or something. I was at another mastermind, and like, he's my first coach and wrote scripts after him, whatever, but I wasn't paying him anything at this time. And this was besides some of the script writing stuff that he taught me, and just the openness of the mentorship, outside of funds, here or there, has been have a great impact. But when he was like, what's your biggest problem? And it's like, well, we're starting to call expireds, and now they're like today's market called by, 1,000 agents or 7, 8, 9 at that time. Before, when we'd be up against 2, 3 or whatever in terms of our speed rate, like we're on it, and the data management, and it's like it was all working beautifully. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. and uh and so, but he was like, well, have you ever thought, about just doing something a little different? And I'm like, yeah, but we got different offerings. He's like, but you sound the same. And I'm like, really? And then he's like, if you got 7, 8 calls and then they all kind of sound the same, some, fast talking, prospecting, like sales guy, or somebody that, is thoughtful enough to print off and study the MLS sheet like an expert or a trusted advisor would, and then maybe put a note or a thought on there and go tape it to their door. If you're already out running around, or you got an area that you are targeting or whatever. And he's like, who are you going to call back? And I was like, that's a great question. I was like, if you catch me maybe on the phone, just because of who I am and what I've done, like I'm going to, obviously test you out, or, toy with you. And then it's like, you could get my business. But in terms of the letter being on my door, like, and with the actual few dots or whatever and circles around something, it's like that's serious to me, right? That's a lot more effort. And so I can remember when we had our agents doing that, and our ISAs were still calling, and our agents were getting callbacks off of them, and getting good responses. And so I believe that when the expired stuff comes back, like all of these people are going to, have Red X, Vulcan, they're already going to be on their game with it, right? And they're going to be prepared for it. Cause I'm telling everybody, like, don't play around just even with the Vulcan piece of it. It's even like I have so many like different things going on, as like I decided to rebuild not just self-organized groups, but traditional teams in this market and what we're going through in the wintertime. But the offline piece is very critical to this with the mailers, and being able to be consistent with getting the data in the morning, cross-checking it, verifying it, doing just a cleanup of it, and then being able to get those mailers out, and in the sequence of those with the messaging, and being able to split test some of the new stuff, because when you're also calling these people, and then you're not the person that left the stuff on the door for them, or the MLS sheet taped on their back porch or front step, but you are the person that had maybe sent them something in the mail and made an offer to them with a good visual aid that we're talking about, and it's clear and it's compelling, and then they're becoming dripped on, and it's like maybe by the time you get a hold of them, it's like day 10, and then you're asking them, hey, by chance, did you receive any of our marketing, outlining our aggressive marketing plan, or any one of our options for you, right? And they're gonna say, yeah, it's on the counter. I've been throwing it away, or I've been meaning to call you guys, or no, I haven't seen it. What's up, right? And those are kind of the responses. But being able to indoctrinate them before that call, or create some mind share with them, with the representing your brand, and the promise to the community, right? From your business and what you stand for, and maybe even the longevity you've been in business, or whatever, that one thing or a couple things that you're known for. So you or the person in your business is starting off with some credibility, right? And so there might be behind the person that went all the way there and dropped the stuff off at the door, but that person ain't on the phone with them, and the other person is. And it's like, I hear you on the radio, right? Or I hear your ads, or whatever. And so it just puts you in a different position in terms of authority than, once again, a random caller, or just someone that's blasting emails out. And so, I mean, I'm not going to spend much more time on it, but you kind of just get it, right? You're going to have to control that narrative online and offline. And that's what I also talked about, with with the video being really a game changer over the last couple of years. And I don't know how you're not going to be able to sell at top agent expert level without these other avenues that we kind of went through and touched on like last week. And, you know, as they unfold, it's going to be interesting. Like even the chat TP or whatever, I'll flip it around. But, you know, spent all weekend, you know, studying that and the workshops. And I put all of those 3-4 hour videos, you know, in the link and the drive and the downloadable documents and the cheat sheets and the slides and the 90-day exit plan, you know, and all of that stuff. But, you know, when you still look at it and the efforts of like content that has to be created with, we'll just say having our first human adult robot that now we're going to have to start building, but it's like we're going to have to prospect a little bit differently, and it will be a little more creative, because I can remember like when I have what I have now, and when I was, you know, shooting videos and building groups, and like one group, this group's like what, 2,000, 2,400. And, you know, I built a group inside sales agents with over 4,000 owners in it, like team leaders, all that stuff at a young age, by communicating and doing things differently. And it was confusing to, we'll just say, Mike, or the professionalism of it, and he didn't understand it. And even on Chris Smith's conversion code on the new slides, but, you know, from his old book, but new research, and it talks about those. And I used to tell Gerbrick this: my organic piece of shit videos out like get way more views and do way more than like somebody that was putting together at that time, you know, very professional, like clean, good looking stuff. And I told Gerbrick, it's like I was on that like Gary V, you know, like anything he says goes, like we all were back in the days. And so, you know, I was, you know, like listening to that, and it ended up working, you know, but it's like, it's even, I mean, that changes. And so it's like, but we still got to make the calls. But it's like, I think, you know, we do a lot more work up front to earn the trust to be able to get the number to make that call. You know, and I think that trust piece, and actually showing like who you are, what you stand for, the consistency, verification of like reviews and testimonials, and then like and then being able to still compete. And normally that would be, you know, how we would be after having a phone number and email address and stuff like that. And so it's going to be interesting, you know, and I think we'll be competing like that for a phone number, or to get a response. And I talked about that last week, where leads were the thing, right? And whoever controlled the leads controlled the business, but whoever controls the conversion actually is in control of the business. And I coached in that conversion club or whatever. And so I was, you know, telling Chris where, like people are having to pay for the lead twice, and it's just a matter of fact, and you're not going to be able to get around it. Or now the lead coordination role coming in with other providers and stuff like that. It's like, you're going to have your alter ego. You're going to have to, you know, like put the call volume in from an inside sales, outside sales position. And, you know, you got to be convinced that like this is a good market, and it's more so of a balanced market. And yeah, the economy is where it is. And it's like, we're thinning out the competition. And so being able to like do things at volume with contacts going down, you know, I just hope that you're also, you know, for an example, even the chat stuff, it's like, I love, I guess, you know, understanding, you know, like what I'm building, what I got going on, and just, I can talk forever at it. But then it's like, give me to stop and write down, you know, a 1,500 word, 2,500 word article, or something like that. And it's like, man, it's like, we're not going to do that unless I can use voice recorder or something like that. And even Chris gave me a bunch of tips on different things like that. But now being able to think of, good prompts and essentially through the prompting, creating the code to be able to write those articles and to be able to get back, to myself. And the numbers and the tracking to the ISA piece is essential with the predictability of all of the different niches that, I kind of been touching on with you guys in the ISA piece. And so it's like, don't force too much on your ISA at once. Yes. Things are down. Yes. Like you could be, like feeding the machine or whatever, but like, is it effective? And it's like, is the burnout and or the actual agreement of expectations with appointments being set after a certain amount of time. And yeah, I hear Adam talk about the foundational stuff, 90 days, and then get into what we call the advanced stuff, which is like, okay, like this person, this is where they're gonna, be here, and this is what we can build on. And getting through the advanced like sales training and stuff like that. And it's just through and through, right? And it's really that 6, 7, 8 month mark. And then going into that next year, you'll have somebody good. And it's like, if they don't have a chance to slow down and just focus on that, like one thing, and get really good at it, because a lead is a lead, a seller lead's a seller lead, but a buyer lead's a buyer lead. But that necessarily isn't true, because you don't know what any of those, if you're not actually writing those ads, controlling those ads, or the website, you don't know what was on those. And so it's like, be patient with your ISAs, but then again, it's like, they got to also understand, like, even what you're setting and what's converting and getting through the pipeline, is it even paying for itself? Are you going to be able to even, we'll just say, if you were an agent, get back in the green, and then work in that next lead source? And so being able to understand the word track and the straight line theory is very important, because it's like beginning with the end and understanding that framework. Because it's like, if you just get a bunch of high eyes, we'll just say, to deal with buyer agents or buyer leads, because they're more nurturing and they're going to talk and all that stuff, versus, your high Ds that like calling expireds and FISBOs and just get right after it. You bulletin point and solve some problems and figure out if we got a listing or not. And the cycle is just shorter. Now, it's like, if someone isn't like monitoring that pipeline in those conversations through live chat, or the next logical step, and they're not following and making those offers and getting those mutual agreements with this, what is happening is a collaborative close, then you got somebody that's, getting outside of the lines. Like, yes, like people will get me outside of the lines, even on like agent attraction calls. They'll get me outside of like where I'm going, but I always have to take back over the control of the conversation by answering, ask, acknowledging, ask, and through reversing, to get us back on track and get the information I need. And then and it's a technique. So being able to monitor talk time and all these different things that, for the season, the lead source, the split testing of it, and then all of it has to be respectful. And being able to run call nights is a huge piece with any prospecting team that you see. I think you see Matt's team, when they were down at Cheplak's event, they crushed it on the phones and were killing it. And then I think since they've been back, they put a session. I know Jonathan Leahy, I know Chris, I know a lot of you guys, do this, but it's like, if you're small, like you just got to start, right? It's hard to start the fire, but once you get that fire going, right, it's hard to put it out. And so once we got our fire going right here, that's Heidi in the pink in the front up there, and then me. And it's like, I was just making these calls for myself as an agent business, and then having to, monitor and look after her and data and call center. And she was even like, I'll just say, a good agent. And just had some kids, and her husband owned a business in town. And so kind of got lucky with finding that stability with her and then rolled it into a couple of others and built off of it. But being able to give the agents an opportunity to come in and listen to how we're handling their data, because every single one of those agents out there listening to her prospect in front of the group, they are mad as hell because they're wondering how all these new people, how this young kid is coming in and blowing it up and setting up all these appointments and stuff like that. And then, being able to have the consistency of the handoff of that lead and what that looks like in the calendar, how do you confirm if the appointment happened, if the quality was what the ISA said it should have been, and any feedback that needs to go to the manager, the rainmaker, and or if the agents are, allowed to, coach, in that manner. And so, like, what does all of that look like to get that going? And it's like pretty simple because we had to figure it out and we overcomplicated things a lot. Even the confirmation piece of the commission, where the ISAs were damn near shutting me down for a day every single week because they had lingering $50, $100 that they needed to confirm out there because we didn't pay, per closings. We separated the income and we were paying for a requested quality and then also a promised water like zone to our agents, because that was the client to them, and then the client to the agent is the general public that's purchasing, but through buying and selling. And so it was interesting that once we moved to even the agents, if they're going to take appointments, and we did away with the processing sheets and all of the different things that we had that were paper back then, and they would go into the obviously the spreadsheet like this, but then we didn't have to push much of anything besides on the listing side. We did have, the listing sheet so we could start to prepare, the home evaluation or fair market analysis or whatever you guys coined the phrase as. But then the agent would go back in here after the appointment, and we'd tell them immediately if you're on our system or you want appointments, and give feedback, and then that's how we ended up getting our day back. And just like so much little stuff like that, to be able to get like them sitting around making calls together, doing a call night, fighting with each other in meetings and all types of different things. But you don't want to put the ISAs necessarily in the general public or population with the agents, and the agents are lazy. It's just a matter of fact. They're not on the phones, they're not prospecting, they're not running their business through high leverage activities for the most part. And so what are they going to do? They're going to talk to your ISA. They're going to bullshit. They're going to try to get to know them. They're going to do what most agents do, waste time, right? But also the smart agents are going to be like, hey, man, I'm here early in the morning. If you need me, hey, I'm here late or whatever. And then I don't know, the integrity of the system or whatever you have going on with your agents and your ISAs. So everybody can believe in the tracking and the systems, as they are, and then as they grow, that everything is being fair, and they can trust in it, because then it's like, well, I got someone else touching my leads and I got someone else doing this. And it's like, well, they're not your leads. If you're running the traditional team, there are stuff. And so like, even, in the agreements, it's like you're being assigned to that. But then it's like, we still get territorial, right? Or the notes weren't put in there. And so it made somebody look dumb or whatever. And so the left hand, shaking the right hand is important. And this is a real person I know. This is the first guy, and we damn near sat in our office, just like how I'm kind of sitting right now. And I look at him back out walking across that door. And this dude was a great sales guy, like amazing. You can sit and listen to him and he'd crack me up forever. And it's like, I'd buy, Tupperware or most expensive nice in the world from this guy. Like, but when it came to real estate in the phone, he hated it. He couldn't do it. He couldn't sit there. But you get him in front of anyone, he's closing them. And so, me and him used to make calls together and work. And, he was, always talking about the aliens coming. He'd have surprised he don't have tinfoil on his head right here, and listen to talk radio, and I'm like fighting through it. This is my office buddy trying to laugh, but still I get my call volume in and all that stuff. And so it's like right now it's like you can't do any of like this stuff, like think you're gonna slack off and make it, and you're gonna have to be phenomenal. And that is where we're at, and that's the time we're in, because where we're going, you're gonna be forgotten. And unfortunately, when the market, was doing what it was doing, and we had to move on from Jeff. But I'd be curious to know what he's doing. But also, you have to inspect what you expect if you're not necessarily overseeing the ISA and or the ISA and the agents together. So preferably you split the two up, and then like we'll just say inner working through like meetings, high touch points, call sessions, jam sessions, call nights, things like that. And so yeah, you don't want somebody like Jeff messing them up. But don't he's always gonna start tomorrow. Oh man, like I'm just gonna start tomorrow, man. Like I got. And so create something, do something, make an offer, right? And so it goes back to some of the chat creation stuff with this robot and what it's going to be able to create and start doing, from a visual aid, from the words to being able to write. And if you haven't went and looked at all that stuff, and I paid for all that, it's like, because that's stuff I coach with, and it blew me away this weekend. Like I've heard of it and I checked it out. I've looked at it. I've known some stuff, but to go through the 3 hours of what I went through with, what Chris showed us and talked about, and he's killing it on a lot of different things, and, having that little robot, let's say you don't have any of this stuff, or even it could be restarting, for an example, or never had to build any of this stuff, or just went out on your own, or just joined us, from leaving another team to start your own business with us, or whatever it may be. It's like, seems like a lot of work, but you're going to have to create content and allocate time to it. And just like create your like purple cow, what is going to, separate you. But when you're having a little miniature robot help you instead of, we'll just say VAs or whatever, it's going to be powerful. It's like, I'm excited to be able to get this thing going, because I have a lot of ideas for it, and we have a lot going on. And then making sure, if you're with us, obviously that you are signed up and certified through the other partners that EXP has to offer. So this is just another offering. Like we'll just say if you're calling FSBOs, expireds, or, something like that, that could be typical. I know this could be part of your overall listing presentation, but when I talk about that offline strategy, this could be one of your postcards, right? With that is value stacked inside of the worry-free listing program or inside of the box, and being able to help them remodel their home, and not take a loan out or have to pay a penny until their home closes with you, and them being able to still net more money, or somewhat positively affect that situation, or give them more options. That's powerful, and then obviously express offer certified, and just making sure that you're maxed out with all of your unique value propositions. And, Matt made a good point the other day. It's like, we all have a lot of different value propositions. Some of them are coined the same, and some of them are not. And it'd be interesting to start like a master spread or a spreadsheet to deal with like rebuttals, or if you have certain, we'll just say, value propositions, and when do you use them, and any like reluctance that you get, or how are you taking care of those objections in the beginning of the sales process and stuff like that. And he says some other lines are doing it, and it might be part of some of their Monday mastermind stuff. I don't know, but that would be cool to have a living, breathing document. And, this one right here, I've seen Haas present this when we were down the build event this last year. And I've kind of heard about, the getting the inspection done before the certified pre-owned home, and just how he like says it and all that. It's like, to me, it sounded cool, but it also, sounds like something from a car lot too. But it's like, I don't care. It's just another, like, it's certified, pre-check, ready to go. Right. So, but we're all on different journeys, and I know I'm right about at that hour. And so I told you guys I'd hop back on here at some point in time and give you guys all of what I just gave you tonight, because when I killed this before, we were at an hour and a half. And then it's almost been 2 weeks since I've delivered this stuff. And so I just thought that I would hop on here. This is our cancel anytime virus. I got a lot of stuff coming, man, with the presentations, because I'm going up and running events up in Toronto. Here's the Rams program that we're doing. Gary should be going live with this workshop right here. It's like, you guys are gonna be going through it, but you got to start with them and stop, because it's a workshop, like actually getting it built out. And this is what we're setting up in the Wichita team, and then running these events too. Lifetime value of a client, why you're going to need that. And I think that really is the most important program, right now, to be able to tap root through that and marketing. But the one thing I wanted to leave you with and show you with at the top of this hour in terms of lead sources. Yeah, because I think this is it's going to be close. When I was going back through my vaults of information, because I've been pulling a lot of different stuff out of my hard drives and going through stuff, and I was looking at, because chat is a big thing right now, and I don't think a lot of people even do it right or are committed to it the way that it needs to be committed to. And I found one of our old, right here it is, live chat, and this was from 2016. And this was, and I think the 2017 one was much higher. And these might not seem like a lot of appointments, but keep in mind, our appointments were all like qualified appointments, getting pre-approved. We protected. It was a different time, and how we were doing with our radio stuff. But like 75, like legit, and we had around 80% sign up, confirm, sign agency, listing rate. Might have been a little bit lower, but still, and these right here, I wouldn't worry about those. But and so when I was like, man, like we were killing it back then, and then when I asked people if they're doing it, they're like, yeah, I got this app, or I got this, or, and it's like it's like what's making the website sticky? Why would they come back to that chat and talk to you? And so the creativity of even that, because it's like I'm bringing it back as I'm going back and rebuilding, our stuff, and seeing this like in 2016, what I was doing, and it's like 23, right? And then I posted the one company in the group yesterday, and a few agents responded to it. And so, I think some of that stuff is good, and it gets you at least in a automation piece with it. But if you're not using chat or even getting involved in it at all, or any of the content creation piece, even from prompting with what you could just be chatting or speaking into it to create more off of that, turning into code for you, you're crazy. But it's like, when you talk about the lead sources and, all of that stuff, right here is the 13 valid conversations to one appointment off, 1,164 appointments. Okay. That we did. And I don't know. I don't know if this is from 17, because I sold in, let's see, so 18. So this probably 16 or 17 right here, without Kansas City or any of the other expansion offices. So this is just Wichita right here. And what I could do here is this is just a screenshot of it, because I just getting these numbers dialed in. But it's like, if this overall bigger number starts to mess up, underneath all of this is expireds and specific lead sources. And so we had a calling calendar and a rotation that was always getting mixed up because we didn't want to hit the same data the same way with the same person. Like we'd just be missing a lot, right? That's not how people live or whatever. And so being able to shake it up and, get different people calling it at different times and, really not beating the data up, but really, maximizing, it with high, good touch efforts. Right. And so, but, like, for example, the FSBOs and expires stuff could be like, we did it at 3-1, 4-1, seller home evaluation stuff that could be, 14-1, right? 10-1, internet leads could be what, 7, 8, 9-1. And so when I look at live chat being our number 2 like appointment, like where we're able to get their number from them and get them from, we basically took Gary Vee's approach with this. It's like, give them information, and then jab, right? It's like jab, jab, punch, when he used to give, then ask, right? And so we would give them what they'd be looking for. Our website was sticky because our chat was open 12 hours a day, how we ran 3 shifts. And then we just were like, having fun with the chat. And I told the girls, like, be witty with it. You guys know what's right and wrong. And then I monitored it all. So I got all of the, the chats and all that stuff. And so, you gotta have fun. It's tough enough working in, sales and let alone being in, a call center, something like that. But, you want to be known for the value. You want to be known for answering questions and not asking for much, in return. And so, being able to pay someone to do that, look it up, spend a little bit of time on it or whatever, because you're still going to need a client 6, 7 months, 8 months, 2 years, 4 years down the road. Agents aren't going to do that. And especially if you have a relocation page tied to it, as the military base was out here with us or whatever. And, we got just the front end of the website built out, and then the back end of it, and then the deliverability with that inside of our home buyer advantage program and stuff like that. It was consistent. So it's like, well, agents are asking me to do this. They can't show me a house or whatever. And then people will be like, hey, go to this website, like they got their live chat over there going, you can get answered, And so when you commit to chat, it's like, even Chris Smith with some of the other slides that you guys are going to see coming soon. It's like, nobody wants to talk to a robot, and then you get through, 2 or 3 answers, and then you're just like stuck, and that's like, don't commit to chat that way. I don't know how many times I've been to a website and get going with this robot and then just stuck. No. Do you ever go back to that website? Do you ever get stuck there ever again? Hell no, you don't. Unless it's something to do like with your car or flying or something, and that ain't the case. So if you're going to go all in on it, go all in on it. But when you're talking about it, back then was the second highest reason of how we were getting numbers, or, getting them from offline to or online to offline. And so that's an example of even what I was talking about in the beginning of this. And it damn near proves my point for me. And so it's like, you're going to have to go all in, with a lot of it. And this slide was for something else that was going to kind of be in here. And then being able to talk about, database management, and then the incredible follow-up, because like those are all leads. We'll just say bread in the oven. Like, you can keep up with one, loaf of bread, right? Set the timer, when it's going to be done. But it's like, if you have, 2,500 loaves of bread with different tickers and alarms going off at different times to butter it up, or, we got bread burning or whatever. And so the ISA piece and the follow-up and the outbound stuff, is one thing, but the lead coordination piece is also another, with the different, providers that don't just allow you to zap it into your system and play 100% out of your system. And they're kind of like a hot shot, like, if you will, going back and forth between the ISA and the agent. It's like, if you want to just kind of think in manufacturing terms, for a minute, it's like, we got this airplane part, or we got this part or machinery part somewhere in this plant, and it's like red tagged or green tagged or yellow tagged, like it's labeled, it's important, it's somewhere in this mess, right? And that's how they will be with getting, the information coming back from the agents, getting it maybe to the team lead, getting it back over to my ideal finder, my agent finder, Op City, like all the other ones that I given you tonight, and all of that stuff. And so making sure, and it's kind of what I'm facing right now with my ISAs. It's like, and the couple markets that I'm in with like ownership and doing it, it's like where I'm weak and strong in one market, I'm totally opposite in the other market. And that ISA piece, it's like you can get very detailed with master tracking and all that stuff. But what matters most right now is the output, the conversations, and controlling that narrative and getting them to take action towards you. That, okay, this person knows their shit enough that I'm going to give them a little bit of my time. And what we do with that time after that is going to be critical in terms of what's going to happen to a lot of people is, I don't know if I believe that about listing my house yet, or I'll just wait, or whatever, right? And so there's going to be a lot of education, and it is kind of like the biggest constraint right now is being able to educate fast enough on what's going on. But you can do it through all these right here. Put together good branding, put together good offerings, build good programs that they could read through, that your robot's writing or you're writing, right? Or videos or online, offline line stuff. And what are you going to do? Just start with one, because underneath that other spreadsheet that I showed you, when I told you I can go see FSBO's 3-to-1, all different lead sources, I know about what those ranges of those lead sources should be, because we set them up one at a time. So we'd never, well, I'm not going to say never, when we were doing it at advanced level, we would do this. Well, we would only add one or maybe two lead sources, even when we were up and going, into our operation, and the commingling of like that, like, okay. And it's separate. It's A/B split testing right now. And then after, even it's like, okay, this is good. We're tapped in, whatever, things change. But still, when things move on you, which is your cheese, and it moves around and been moving around often, you can kind of, figure out where your cheese moved to, quickly, or why your 12 to 15 to valid conversation appointment is out of range and some ain't right. And then you can kind of reverse engineer off the data, and figure it out, like I would always have to do. And sometimes it's a data entry issue. Sometimes it's just there's a lot of different things it could be, but it's like, if they're all blended in together and you're not trained on one, psychological processing of how that lead like responded to that message, and how they're going to respond to you, and so on and so forth, and what you guys are even doing at that place and that time with that conversation and that opportunity, and it's just random, that's what it will be, just random and not have any predictability to it. So hopefully that helped you guys tonight. You guys have a good night.